This is live video from Space Shuttle Discovery, now making its way southeast of Australia and traveling over the southern Pacific Ocean. On board, the crew members are in their final hours of their afternoon of their crew day, and with just a few small tasks left, they'll then have some off-duty times before their pre-sleep period. They're scheduled for sleep at 10:17 p.m. Central Time. We'll be continuing with the coverage of this STS-116 mission. On NASA TV at 11 p.m. Central Time, we'll be playing today's flight day highlights, which will include a look at some of today's activities on board Discovery. That will play at the top of the hour through the crew sleep period. They're scheduled for wake-up at 6:17 a.m. Central Time. We'll also be replaying the mission status briefing, which was conducted about an hour ago from the Johnson Space Center. That will be replayed at midnight. But otherwise, the flight day highlights, again, at the top of the hour, starting at 11 p.m. Central Time. Tomorrow's day for the crew will include preparations for their landing opportunities. That will include the suit up in their deorbit entry suits, as well as some configurations to some of the onboard equipment, including the space hab in the payload bay, and some final stowage of on-orbit equipment. You're seeing a current graphical depiction of the current attitude of Space Shuttle Discovery. The vehicle is performing well and now traveling over the southern Pacific Ocean. We're at a mission elapsed time of 11 days, 21 hours, 22 minutes for this mission. That will likely wrap up tomorrow, the first day of deorbit opportunities. The crew is scheduled for wake-up at 6:17 a.m. Central Time, and will begin with their deorbit preps just a couple hours later. There's a number of landing opportunities for Space Shuttle Discovery tomorrow. The first one is at Kennedy Space Center, and the route will take the vehicle over Guatemala, east of Belize and the Yucatan Peninsula, then traveling west of Cuba. It will travel then over the Gulf of Mexico and the coast of Florida near Sarasota, crossing central Florida. That landing opportunity is on orbit 202 with a deorbit time of 1:49 p.m. Central Time, landing at 2:56 Central Time. The next opportunity is for Edwards. That will have the vehicle going on a path over the west coast, just north of Los Angeles, to Edwards Air Force Base. That's on orbit 203 with a deorbit time of 3:19 p.m. Central Time, landing at 4:27 p.m. Central Time. The next opportunity is at White Sands Space Harbor. Crossing over Baja, California, the vehicle will then travel over western Mexico. That would be having a deorbit burn at 3:20 p.m. Central Time, landing 4:27 p.m. Central Time. Our next opportunity on orbit 203 would have the vehicle traveling again west off the west coast of Mexico near Mazatlan, then northeasterly course over West Texas and Laredo along the Gulf Coast, along Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama before crossing northern Florida. That would be on orbit 203, a deorbit burn of 3:26 p.m. Central Time, landing at 4:32 p.m. Central Time. The next opportunity is at Edwards Air Force Base, again, west coast, the vehicle traveling over the west coast, north of Los Angeles, to the landing strip. That's on orbit 204, a deorbit burn at 4:54 p.m. Central Time, and landing at 6 p.m. The next opportunity is again at White Sands Space Harbor. That would have the vehicle traveling over, crossing the northern Baja near San Felipe and just north of Mexico, bordering into along the border into White Sands Space Harbor. That's on orbit 204, the deorbit burn at 4:57 Central Time, and landing at 6:02 p.m. Central Time. And the final opportunity would be at Edwards. The vehicle would cross the west coast near Santa Barbara on its way to Edwards. That would be on orbit 205 with deorbit at 6:32 p.m. Central Time, landing at 7:36 p.m. Central Time. Those again are a quick look at all the landing opportunities tomorrow. As the flight director or the entry flight director explained, though, they will be focusing on some of those specific opportunities. On the first orbit, it would be for Kennedy Space Center. On the next rev, they would focus on Edwards or Kennedy Space Center. And on the final orbit, 204, looking at Edwards or White Sands Space Harbor. The final decision, of course, will come tomorrow morning when the entry team has had another chance to look at the real-time weather. The forecast at this point, a no-go for Kennedy Space Center and for Edwards. At Kennedy, it's some frontal weather conditions causing cloud cover and possibility of showers, and then at Edwards, primarily some crosswind violations that would be causing some concern. But stay tuned to NASA TV. We'll be keeping you posted on those entry plans as they develop.
Mark, we're ready for that.
This is Mission Control Houston. We've now switched to a view from the International Space Station, which is traveling 2,375 nautical miles behind Space Shuttle Discovery. The two are making their way over the Pacific Ocean on a northeasterly course that will take them over just across North America.
Discovery Houston, we are 2 minutes out from the next landing -1 comm checkout, and we will be ready on time.
Okay, Megan, we're configured.
Discovery Houston, air-to-ground 1, comm check.
Houston, loud and clear on air-ground 1.
Discovery, we have you the same. 2 is next. Discovery Houston, air-to-ground 2, comm check.
Loud and clear on air-ground 2.
We have you the same. UHF is next. Discovery Houston on UHF, comm check.
Loud and clear on UHF.
We have you the same. Triple SIMO is next. Discovery Houston, triple SIMO, comm check.
Loud and clear on SIMO. Alice.
Here comes the count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, Houston, sounds like you're not quite synced up. Here's our count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Stand by, Discovery. I think we're going to try this again.
Standing by.
Discovery, here comes another long count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, Houston, that sounded the same, not quite synced. Here's one from me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That was loud and clear and in sync. Do you want another count from me?
And we'll get it after the handover.
This is Mission Control Houston. You're hearing a comm check in progress between the Mission Control Center here at Johnson Space Center, helping the on-orbit crew conduct some of their standard L-1 or landing day before landing comm checks with their various landing sites. A look at the upcoming ground track for Space Shuttle Discovery across North America indicates there will be some sighting opportunities. This is a look at the current travel with the ground track for Space Shuttle Discovery as it's making its way, just crossing over the west coast, and it appears there will be sighting opportunities, weather permitting, for Colorado, Utah, Kansas, Nebraska, Wyoming, Iowa, and Wisconsin.
Ground 1 comm check.
All of that sighting information can be found at the NASA website, www.spaceflight.nasa.gov.
Ground 1.
But most of those sighting opportunities falling between 5:45 p.m. and 6:15 p.m. local time for those states. The Space Shuttle and International Space Station should both be visible in most of those areas, with the shuttle crossing and the International Space Station a couple minutes later.
We have you the same triple SIMOs next.
Those two vehicles are currently 2,300 nautical miles apart, but traveling in the same ground track. So again, we encourage you, if you're in those areas, to check out those sightings opportunities. No binoculars or telescope are needed. You can see it with the unaided eye, and it will appear as a steady moving point of light traveling from west to east.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Loud and clear and in sync. Here's mine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Discovery, we have you the same. Those are good comm checks, and we'll go back to air to ground 1.
Copy.
And Discovery, you have a go for step 3 of the L-1 comm checkout.
Okay, Megan, we'll put that in work.
Houston, Discovery for Space App. Go ahead, Joni.
Just wanted to let you know that we were going to put the tunnel config into work for entry prep.
We copy, Joni. Thanks.
That concludes the comm checks with the shuttle discovery crew. Again, those just a standard day before landing activity to ensure all the communications links will work when they are making their final approach. The Space Shuttle Discovery and International Space Station vehicles performing well. Discovery now making its way over North America. And again, as they're crossing from orbital day to orbital night, as the sunset is moving across North America, that is a good opportunity for sightings of both the shuttle as well as the International Space Station. A look at the ground track reveals most of the Midwest states will have some sighting opportunities between 5:45 and 6:15 p.m. local time for those areas. They include Colorado, Utah, Kansas, Nebraska, Wyoming, Iowa, and Wisconsin. But you can always find that sightings information on the NASA website, www.nasa.gov, and just do a search for sightings. On that website, it will enable you to access a text listing of sightings information for cities around the world, or access a customized software program that will allow you to enter specific longitude and latitude data for your location and provide more customized sighting information. This is Mission Control Houston with live video from Space Shuttle Discovery. The vehicle now has crossed over the Atlantic Ocean and just making approach over the northwest coast of Africa. And in the view there's some city lights from the altitude about 200 miles overhead. The space shuttle is traveling 17,500 miles per hour. It's now 2,396 nautical miles ahead of the International Space Station, which is following behind, but likewise orbiting the Earth once every 90 minutes. On board, the 116 crew is in their final hours of what's likely their last day in space. They're 4 hours, 22 minutes from their scheduled sleep at 10:17 p.m. Central Time. It's been a day primarily focused on their landing opportunities for tomorrow. There's a number of opportunities involving all three landing sites, including Kennedy Space Center, Edwards in California, and also White Sands Space Harbor in New Mexico. Those plans today have included cabin stowage activity, as well as a checkout of the flight control system that had a chance to test out the avionics as well as the aero surfaces and ensure that the vehicle is in good shape for landing. They also conducted a deployment of one final experiment from the payload bay. That was the Andy atmospheric experiment for atmospheric neutral density experiment. They also conducted interviews with CNN, ABC News, and also the Challenger Center in Alaska. Their final tasks for the day include a seat setup for Thomas Ryder, who'll be using a recumbent seat for the entry, and antenna stowage of the KU band antenna, that is at 7:17 p.m. Central Time, but otherwise off-duty time before the crew sleep at 10:17 p.m.